their time in Bardstown, New Hampshire, so he calls it home. He is also a New England sports fan growing up in New Hampshire. Eric joined the Army at the age of 18 while still in high school. That was 1996, and he began an 11-year career which spanned 2 tours of duty in Iraq.
As a combat patrol leader, Eric experienced numerous improvised explosive device attacks and sustained multiple injuries, including traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. Eric is the recipient of the Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Army Commendation Medal of Valor, the Combat Action Badge, as well as numerous other awards and decorations. Eric is here today to share his story of determination. Please help me welcome Staff Sergeant Eric Malle.
To use the podium when I walk around. How many of you are happy to be in school today? Wow. All the young kids, all the older kids, only 2 hands went up. I think it's great that you're in school today because today's a very important day. Does anybody know what day it is? What day is it?
Veterans Day.
That's right, it's Veterans Day. And what does Veterans Day mean? What does Veterans Day mean to you? Here we go. I'm going to make you famous. Talking there.
We honor those who serve.
Exactly. That's a great answer. Thank you. Excuse me. And that's why you're in school today. Because if you were at home playing video games, if you were at the mall, would you be really honoring people who serve this country? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't be honoring me and the tens of thousands of other brave men and women who serve this country, who sacrificed so much so that we could have freedoms. Because yesterday when you woke up, did you have freedom? When you woke up today, did you have those same freedoms? And when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to have those same freedoms, right? So is Veterans Day just one day out of the year? It's every day, right? I like this young group up front. Do you like chocolate? You're a yes crowd. See, when I was older, when I turned 18, I joined the Army because I wanted to be part of a family. Because growing up, I didn't have a family. And I always wanted a family. So I joined the Army, and I got the family that I always wanted. But I had to go to Iraq. Anybody know where Iraq is? Where is it? Close enough. It's in the Middle East, Southwest Asia. You were close. And I went twice. And the first time I went, it wasn't that bad because everybody watches the news, right? And what do they say about Iraq and Afghanistan? You don't know who your enemy is, right? Well, when I went to Iraq the first time, they were running and they were hiding. But when I went the second time in 2006, they weren't running and hiding anymore. And I was given a job to be a combat patrol leader. And what I had to do was work with the Iraqi police, the Iraqi government. I had to work to help rebuild schools. I had to help to make sure people had electricity and running water so they could take showers. Wouldn't you like to have all those things? Do you enjoy your running water? Being able to watch TV? Coming to school? Well, those kids didn't have that, and part of my job was to help give that to them. So it was very rewarding to be able to serve somebody else and help them. Anybody ever do anything to help somebody else? Does it make you feel good? Do you do it because you want to feel good, or you want to help the other person feel good? Well, you're well trained. Keep that. That's a very good thing. And that's why we should help other people, not because of how it's going to make us feel. It's how we're going to make other people feel, right? But I also had to do some other things in Iraq. I had to arrest people who didn't want the United States military there, people who wanted to fight against us. I had to find those people and bring them to jail. And they fought in all different kinds of ways against us. And one of the ways they fought against us, how many of you ever heard of an improvised explosive device or a roadside bomb? Heard about them on the news. On October 2nd of 2006, I was only 27 days away from going home. That's pretty soon, isn't it? I'd already been there for 14 months. That's over a year without seeing any of my friends or family. That would stink, wouldn't it? So you'd be ready to go home if you only had 27 days left to go, wouldn't you? I like this theory. Yes, crowd. This group right here. Great. See? Yes. But if you were getting ready to go home, would you be thinking about being in Iraq or would you be thinking about being at home? Exactly. And that's what I had to worry about because I had 17 soldiers that I had to take care of. And I was worried that all they were thinking about was going home. And it was my job to make sure that they weren't thinking about that they were thinking about Iraq still. Because in Iraq, you can get hurt very quickly, and unfortunately, you can even die. So I asked them to pay attention very closely that day. And they all told me they would. They shook their heads, just like you're doing this morning. Yeah, and they weren't really listening. Not that you're not listening, but they didn't. And we went on patrol that morning. And then we went on this road, we called it Route Linda. It was this long, windy road. But Route Linda was known for a few things. Those improvised explosive devices and ambushes. Does anybody know what an ambush is? And you see them in video games or on TV in a movie? That's exactly what they are. When people sneak up on you and they attack you. Well, that morning, as we drove out onto Route Linda, there was no cars on the road. Would that seem odd to you if you came to school and there were no other cars on the road? Yeah. You might think it was Saturday. There's no cars, right? Oh, in Iraq, there's always cars on the road. And that bothered me that there were none there. But I didn't have time to think about it. I put it in the back of my mind. I had 4 radios I had to answer. I had to send up reports. It was like doing homework. But I had to do it right there in my Humvee as we drove down the road. How many of you like doing homework? Really? Behind us, see, I like that answer. Well, I had to do homework. Even though I wasn't in school, I still had to do homework. I had to let people know what was going on. And that's what I was paying attention to. Until we came to the top of this small hill. And down off in the clearing on the right-hand side, I noticed some pickup trucks. They were all white. But there was a little black car in the middle of them. And as we drove closer, I noticed there were 3 young men in the car. And I stared at the passenger for what seemed like a long time, when really it was only a couple of seconds. And when I looked away from him, the road exploded on my Humvee. One of those improvised explosive devices. Picked my Humvee up and slammed it back to the ground. It set it on fire, and it crippled the Humvee. When I say crippled the Humvee, we couldn't drive it. It also hurt everybody inside. The blast was so strong that it tore the ligaments in my left knee, and it caused a spinal cord injury, a traumatic brain injury. I was wearing a protective helmet. Anybody ever see soldiers with their helmets on? Yeah, and they have those straps around their chin. Yeah, I was wearing one of those. But the strap, it got shredded. The blast wave was so strong, it threw my helmet across the Humvee, and I slammed my head into a radio mount, and it knocked me out. That was the 17th time I had been hit by a roadside bomb, and the 6th time I had been knocked out. That's a lot. And when I woke up in the Humvee, I could hear it burning around me. I was scared. Would you be scared? All I could think about was my driver, Cam. He was a tall, lanky kid. He was really cool. He was one of my best friends. He became my brother, my family. And I was worried about him. When I saw him sitting in that seat, he was hurt really bad. And I felt like it was my fault because I knew what was going to happen. I knew why there wasn't traffic on the road. My experience had told me that someone had put that roadside bomb in, but I didn't listen to myself. I didn't tell Cam not to drive down that road. I let him do that. So I felt like I hurt him. Have any of you ever made a mistake and felt like you hurt your friend or somebody in your family? Now you feel pretty bad, right? Yeah, that's how I felt, only a little bit worse. You see, we went back to the hospital and Cam had to go to surgery. They had to save his life in surgery, and thankfully they did. And I was left to think about Cam. A little while later, a few months later, in December of 2007, the Army told me they didn't want me anymore. How would that make you feel? One of your friends told you, I don't want you to be your friend anymore. Did that hurt your feelings? Yeah, it hurt my feelings pretty bad too. I was lonely, I was sad, so I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't really do anything. I didn't leave my house. I lost all my friends. I stopped playing video games because I played video games. I was just a big kid. I love kids' toys. How many people like Legos? Nice. I love Legos. So that's what I would do. I would just sit at home and I wouldn't do the things that I used to like to do. I was all alone. Would you want to be alone? No. Nobody wants to be alone. I knew I needed to get help. I needed to find someone that could help me. Because my knee that hurt, that got better. My back got a little bit better. My head got better. Then I had some injuries that people can't see. You know, when people are sad, people don't really know that you're sad because it's on the inside. Yeah, that's how I felt. Everything was on the inside. And I don't think anybody could see it. And it was very hard for me. And it's very hard for a lot of veterans who come back from combat. After they protected us and given us our freedoms, they have a hard time with those things. So I had no choice but to ask for help because I had struggled for 4.5 years. How old are you? You're 5? I struggled for as long as she's been alive almost. That's how long. You're 5 too? See? There we go. Okay, so you understand, right? So you understand how long I was sad. So now you know how long I was sad. But somebody told me about an organization, this one right here, Wounded Warrior Project. Isn't that a cool logo? You know what? Anybody want to take a guess at what that logo means? Go ahead.
Someone got hurt and someone started to carry them to safety.
Wow. That's a great answer, and you're absolutely correct. It's one person carrying another person off the battlefield. It looks like somebody got hurt, and that's what happened. But do you think it means more than that? Oh, somebody said no. I finally got my first no. Yes, it does mean more than that. He does have a gun because when we go to combat, unfortunately, people want to hurt us, so we have to protect ourselves, so we bring guns. We don't want to use them unless we absolutely have to. What was that? Swords? Swords are only in video games. They did in old times use swords, you're right. You guys are very smart. But when we're talking about this, and what was your name? What Jackson said is one warrior carrying another warrior off the battlefield because they were injured. And that's what happened to me. Someone helped carry me off the battlefield while I was still in Iraq. Somebody helped carry my driver Cam off the battlefield while he was still in Iraq because we were injured. But when we got home, there was nobody there. There was no one to carry us anymore. And that's where Wounded Warrior Project came into my life. Wounded Warrior Project picked me up and carried me. Because sometimes you have to realize that the battlefield, the war that you see on TV, isn't always fought in Iraq or Afghanistan. It's those things that people can't see when we hurt inside. We're still fighting those. A lot of veterans fight those. And you can't see it. Like I said before, it's like when you're sad and nobody knows you're sad because no one can see it. So Wounded Warrior Project picked me up and carried me home, carried me to safety. And they do that for over 60,000 Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. That's a pretty big number. Would you think that's a big number, Jackson? Yeah. It is. Your name's Jackson too? No, I didn't think so. So do you think Wounded Warrior Project helps a lot of veterans? Why do you think they do that?
So that people can feel more comfortable.
So they can feel more comfortable? Any other guesses? That's a great answer. Go ahead.
So that they're safe.
They're safe?
So that they have like more family and more friends than they have.
More family and friends, a bigger support group? That's a very good answer.
So people can help them when they feel bad.
So people can help them when they feel bad? Okay, one more. Go ahead, young lady.
People feel bad and maybe feel safe and
Exactly. Wounded Warrior Project helps all those people because they need support. They need support all the time, not just today being Veterans Day. They need support all year long. They need to know that they're appreciated and that people understand their injuries and their needs. And by giving them support, Wounded Warrior Project changes their life and sometimes saves their lives, because it's very sad that veterans sometimes don't want to live anymore. So Wounded Warrior Project helps save their lives. We have 20 programs and services that we provide at Wounded Warrior Project. Anybody want to take a guess at what some of those are? And they're fun. Go ahead. No, we do help the Navy. Yep. Yep, we help the Navy, the Army, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the Air Force. We help everybody. But what do you think are some of the things that we do? Go ahead.
skiing.
We do skiing. That's a great one. We do physical health and wellness. How many of you go to gym class? You like it? It's fun, right? Now, what if you couldn't go to gym class anymore? What if you couldn't play sports? How would you feel? You'd be upset. You'd be sad. And when some warriors come home, these veterans come home, they may be missing a leg or an arm, or they have a hard time walking because of their spinal cord injury. So you think that they're sad that they can't do sports anymore? Well, we help them do that. That's a very good answer. We help get them to realize that they can still do the same things that they used to do. They just have to do them in a different way. What else do you think we do?
Maybe if their leg gets chopped off, maybe they could get a robot leg.
We do help them. We don't give them robot legs, but we help them get prosthetic legs. That's a great answer. We help them get the benefits and the health care that they deserve. Don't you all like going to the doctor? No, there we go, no. But we have to go to the doctor to be healthy, right? Yeah, and how come you get to go to the doctor? Because your mom and dad have insurance. They have benefits that help you get to the doctor so you can be healthy. But when veterans come home, they sometimes don't have those same benefits like your parents have to take you to the doctor. So we make sure they get those benefits, because we want our veterans to be healthy, right? Why do we want them to be healthy? So they can fight for our country, and because they've already fought for our country. They've already provided us with the freedoms that we deserve, and they sacrifice so much. So we want to make sure that we can do everything to help them, to honor them, empower them, and make sure that they're healthy, because they deserve that, right? The same reason that you deserve your freedoms. They deserve to be treated and given those same things. What's a couple other things you think Wounded Warrior Project might do? You go ahead right there in the blue shirt. Yeah, that's blue.
Mental activities.
Mental activities, that's a great answer. We do that too. How many of you like talking to your friends? And I don't mean during class, because that's not allowed. You like talking to your friends because you share the same interests, right? You like the same video games or the same shows, so you talk to your friends. What was your name? Jeremiah brought up a great point, mental activities. See, warriors come home and they're sad, they don't think anybody else understands, but they're able to talk to each other, just like you talk to your friends. So they're able to share their stories, and that makes them feel better. It doesn't make them feel alone. And that helps with their mental abilities, their psyche. I don't want to use big words. But that's a great point, Jeremiah. We provide peer support groups where we bring in a whole bunch of warriors and they get to talk to each other and have dinner. They become friends. They have a new support system, like one of the young ladies said before. What do you think something else is that we help warriors with? Go ahead, young man. We do arts and crafts. Believe it or not. We do painting classes because it goes back to Jeremiah's point. We do stuff like that so that warriors can find new ways to express themselves, their feelings. That's a great answer because we do stuff like that and people actually don't believe that. What about, do you think that veterans want to go back to work? Do you think when the Warrior Project helps them with that? How do you think we do that? Go ahead. Yep, we do that. We help them make them feel better. But how else do you think we help them go back to work?
By making them feel more comfortable, like with themselves, so that they have more self-confidence.
It's a great answer. Who fed you these answers? Go ahead, young lady with the green headband. That's you with the red poppy and the green headband. Yes, we help do that too. She said if they have a disability, get them a service animal so they are more comfortable to be in the workplace. Some of the things that we do is we talk to them about school and education. Now, some of you are not that old, but are you tired? Because I want to take a nap too. I might have to borrow your coat after this so I can lay down. We teach them about going back to school to get another education because most veterans join the Army or the Air Force or the Marines right out of high school. So all they know is the military. And it's very hard to adapt when you get out of the military to finding a job. So we help them do that. We help them find a career. We work with employers so that the employers understand what a veteran goes through. How many of you appreciate veterans? I know I do. How many of you know a veteran? How many of them are in your family? That's a lot. How does that make you feel? Does that make you proud? And that's great. I'm very proud to be a veteran, and I'm very proud that I was able to come here this morning and talk to you. You guys are, young ladies and gentlemen, had some great responses. And just because you're in school today and some of your friends are at home playing video games or still sleeping, you're here and you understanding and appreciating what veterans do, what they go through, and what their needs are. Today you're really honoring veterans. You're taking time to think about them, because a lot of you raise your hand saying you know who they are, they're in your families. So whenever you see a veteran, say thank you. Just tell them thank you, because they served and sacrificed so much so that we could do what we do every single day. And I really thank you for allowing me to come here this morning and for your participation, especially this front row right here. You were great. So I hope you have a great rest of the day, and thank you very much.
Of being able to introduce a few of our grandparents. I was thinking, why? It's because I'm a grandparent. I am one of the Meadowbrook grandparents. And so it is an honor to recognize a few grandparents who have been identified by their families for being veterans of the United States or of Canada. And I just want you to remind yourselves that Veterans Day is really thinking backwards as well. It's not just about Iraq and Afghanistan, it's thinking about Vietnam or Korea or World War II, World War I, Civil War, the American Revolution, the War of 1812. So we have a few of grandparents who have been recognized by their families. I would like to honor them by reading their names. And if you are a family member, I think it would be great if you would stand and be recognized for what your family has done for our country. The first person I'd like to recognize is Joseph Hurd. I know you're here. Please stand, sir. And your children, please stand. Mr. Hurd is a Vietnam veteran. He was a major in the medical corps. And we thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for being here. I don't believe he is here, but the second person on my list is Roy Lloyd, who was a seaman during World War II, and he is the great-grandfather of Winnie. Winnie, you get to stand again. Because your family also talked to us a little bit about Garth Lloyd, and he was in the 25th Infantry in Vietnam. And he served in Vietnam for 2 years, and he was wounded on the Cambodian border. And we would like to thank you for both sides of your family for what they've done for us. Would the Bargamians please stand? Jessica included, please. I know, thank you, George. The first of the Bargamian family that we'd like to recognize is Dr. Walter Reister. That's Jessica's mom's father, and he was a lieutenant commander and a surgeon in the U.S. Navy from 1957 to 1965. So we'd like to thank you for the honor of your grandfather and what he did for our country. Thank you, Jessica. Jessica, would you stay standing? George, would you stand as well, please? George's father, George Bargamian, was a chief commissary steward for the United States Navy. He was a Seabee during World War II. He earned the Bronze Star. The Bronze Star is the 4th highest medal for valor. And then he was part of the Philippines Liberation Movement and received 2 Bronze Stars for helping the Philippines to win their independence from Japanese occupation. And we thank you, George, for your father as well.
Good morning. Veterans Day is a special day to remember those and honor those who have served our country. I would like to share with you a video that our family has put together to honor a special member of our family who is a true patriot and gave the ultimate sacrifice for his country, my dad, John Hayes.
John Halsey Hayes was born on September 24, 1943. He grew up in Winter Haven, Florida. He lived in Winter Haven with his parents and sisters, Sally and Susan. John had a happy childhood. As a young boy, John loved cowboys, water skiing, and being a Boy Scout.
John earned his Eagle Scout badge when he was 17. He was student council president his senior year of high school.
John set his sights on the United States Military Academy and joined the class of 1965 at West Point. While at a dance in Boston, he met Leslie Contos from Massachusetts. She was attending Leslie College, and the two hit it off. They saw each other whenever they could, and eventually they were married in June of 1966. Stationed in Germany, John and Leslie learned that they would be expecting a baby. John went to Ranger Training and Airborne School. He was the youngest tank troop commander the Armored Cavalry had. John was now to report to Vietnam under the command of George S. Patton, Jr. In November of 1968, General Patton asked John to lead some troops through some difficult terrain. He wanted someone with experience to lead this mission. He requested Captain Hayes, and the mission was not as successful as General Patton had hoped. Sadly, on November 8th, while leading his troops in tanks, Captain Hayes was killed in action. He was 25 years old. Leslie, John's mother, and Lauren, his baby girl, were presented with his medals. He received 2 Purple Hearts, the Commendation Medal, a Silver Star, and the Distinguished Service Cross, which is the second highest medal an officer can receive. General Patton dedicated a battle wagon in John Hayes' name at Fort Knox, Kentucky. General Patton never forgot the circumstances and acts of bravery that John Hayes showed under his command. Leslie remarried, and Lauren had a new dad, George Campbell, and a brother, G.T. A scholarship was established in John's name at Winter Haven High School for a graduate, with the primary basis for selection being a need for financial assistance. To date, there have been 44 recipients, and both Leslie, Lauren, and other family members have presented the scholarship over the years.
John Halsey Hayes' name is also on the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. Family and friends visit each year.
Over the years, Major General Patton spoke about Captain Hayes in commencement speeches and when being interviewed for books about his life. In General Patton's retirement, he and his wife Joanne began the Green Meadows Farm next to the Patton homestead in Hamilton, Massachusetts.
He named one of his fields after John Hayes.
This past September, Joanne Patton invited the families of those soldiers who have fields named after them to come to a rededication.
Hayes, Campbell, Jennings family were all able to attend.
It was an extremely special day for the family. 46 years after John Hayes had died, he now has 2 grandsons that were present for this momentous occasion. After the ceremony, Mrs. Patton hosted a luncheon, and the families were given a private tour of the Patton home. It was a day to be proud, a day to reflect, and a day to recognize those who give the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Although I never met my father, I am extremely proud to be his daughter.